The string quartet played softly in the background as I adjusted my vintage camera, focusing on the perfect shot of my cousin Maria's first dance with her new husband. The grand ballroom at the Fairmont Hotel sparkled with crystal chandeliers and the laughter of 200 carefully selected guests. Everything had to be perfect for the Rodriguez family's social event of the year. I'm Isabella Torres, though most of my family just calls me Izzy the photographer, with varying degrees of pity in their voices. At 35, I'm the family disappointment who chose to work behind a camera instead of in front of a boardroom. The one who turned down a prestigious position at Goldman Sachs to pursue my artistic phase, as my father liked to call it. Isabella, darling, my mother approached, her designer gown rustling against the marble floor. Could you please try to blend in a bit more? This is Maria's special day, not a professional photo shoot. I smiled, continuing to capture candid moments through my lens. I'm documenting memories, Mom. Isn't that what you asked me to do? She sighed, that familiar sound of disappointment I'd grown accustomed to over the years. I meant take a few nice family photos, not turn this into one of your little projects. My little projects. If she only knew that those little projects had quietly revolutionized how people consumed digital content. But tonight wasn't about my success. Tonight was about family, appearances, and maintaining the Rodriguez reputation in high society circles. The cocktail hour flowed seamlessly into dinner, with me moving discreetly around the edges, capturing genuine moments between the posed perfection. I'd learned long ago to become invisible at these events, present but not intrusive, documenting but not participating. Izzy. My cousin Carlos waved me over to the head table where the family elders held court. Come settle a debate for us. I approached cautiously, camera hanging around my neck like a badge of my outsider status. The table fell quiet as I neared, 5 pairs of eyes evaluating my simple black dress and practical shoes. We were just discussing career paths, Uncle Richard announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd built a successful construction empire from nothing. Your cousin David just made partner at his law firm. David straightened his tie, basking in the approval. At 32 he was everything the family wanted in a son, successful, traditional, profitable. And your brother Miguel, Aunt Carmen added, just closed that major real estate deal downtown. $15 million. Miguel nodded modestly, though his satisfaction was obvious. He'd always been the golden child, following Dad into commercial real estate with impressive results. Which brings us to you, Uncle Richard continued, his tone shifting to something resembling concern mixed with condescension. Isabella, you're 35 years old. Don't you think it's time to consider a more stable career path? The table went quiet except for the distant sound of the band starting their next set. I could feel the weight of their expectations, their disappointment, their genuine confusion about my life choices. I'm happy with my work, I said simply, adjusting my camera strap. Happy doesn't pay retirement funds, David interjected with a laugh. When are you going to stop playing around and get serious about your future? Uncle Richard leaned forward, warming to his favorite topic. Your father mentioned you still live in that tiny apartment in Brooklyn. No savings, no investments, no security. At your age, you should be building something substantial. If they only knew about the penthouse I owned in Manhattan, purchased through a holding company to maintain my privacy. Or the investment portfolio that had quietly grown to 8 figures while they thought I was struggling to pay rent. The photography thing was cute in your 20s, Aunt Carmen added, her voice taking on that particular tone women use when they think they're being helpful. But at some point you need to face reality. You're 35 and filming birthday parties? Uncle Richard's voice suddenly boomed across the reception, loud enough that nearby tables turned to stare. When are you going to grow up and get a real job? The string quartet seemed to falter for a moment. Conversations at surrounding tables paused. My mother's face flushed with embarrassment as she noticed the attention Uncle Richard's outburst had drawn. Richard, please, she murmured, not so loud. But he was just getting started, emboldened by what he perceived as family support and perhaps the open bar. Everyone here is successful, contributing to society, building legacies. And you're playing with cameras like some teenager with delusions of grandeur. Mom just nodded sadly, her silence speaking volumes about her own disappointment in my choices. I remained calm, used to these interventions by now. They happened at every family gathering. Someone would decide it was time to save Isabella from herself, to guide her toward respectability and traditional success. Right then my phone rang. The distinctive ringtone I'd assigned to business calls cut through the ambient noise of the reception. I glanced at the screen. Unknown number from Los Angeles. The timing was either perfect or terrible depending on your perspective. I should take this, I said quietly. Oh please, David scoffed. Another birthday party booking? Without thinking, I put the call on speaker, holding the phone up so everyone at the table could hear clearly. Ms. Torres, this is Netflix approved your $500 million streaming platform acquisition. The reception went silent. Not just our table. The entire ballroom seemed to pause as if someone had pressed a cosmic mute button. The string quartet stopped mid-note. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the waitstaff froze with champagne glasses halfway to tables. Margaret Chen's voice continued through the speaker, professional and clear. The board meeting concluded 20 minutes ago with unanimous approval. Congratulations, you now own the largest independent content distribution network in the entertainment industry. Uncle Richard's mouth hung open. David's champagne glass tilted, spilling onto his expensive suit unnoticed. Aunt Carmen blinked rapidly as if trying to process information her brain refused to accept. Margaret, I said calmly, can we discuss the transition timeline tomorrow morning? I'm at a family event. Of course, Isabella. Your assistant mentioned you'd be unavailable tonight. The legal team will have all documentation ready for your review by 9 a.m. Again, congratulations on building something truly revolutionary. I ended the call and looked around the table at their stunned faces. The silence stretched for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. 500 million, David whispered finally. Netflix, Mom repeated as if testing the word. Uncle Richard had gone completely pale. The man who'd spent the last 10 minutes lecturing me about financial responsibility and career stability looked like he might need medical attention. Isabella, Aunt Carmen's voice was barely audible. What exactly do you do? I slipped my phone back into my purse, straightening my simple black dress. I build streaming platforms, Aunt Carmen. The little projects you've all been concerned about? They're how people watch movies and TV shows now. The nearby tables had started whispering, putting together pieces of the conversation they'd overheard. Social media was probably already buzzing with fragments of the call. Speculation about the mysterious Netflix acquisition that had just been announced at a society wedding. But, Miguel stammered, you film birthday parties. Actually, I document proof-of-concept events for my artificial intelligence algorithms, I corrected gently. Every party, every wedding, every family gathering helps train my content recommendation systems. I've been building the world's most sophisticated viewer preference database while you all thought I was playing with cameras. Uncle Richard finally found his voice. You've been lying to us. No, I said firmly. I've been working. The difference is, you never asked what I was actually building. You just assumed that because you didn't understand it, it must not be valuable. I stood up, adjusting my camera for what would be my last few shots of the evening. Now, if you'll excuse me, I should get back to work. These candid family reactions are exactly the kind of authentic content my algorithms need. As I walked away, I could hear the explosion of whispered conversations behind me. Questions, denials, desperate attempts to understand how the family failure had secretly become more successful than all of them combined. The rest of the reception passed in a blur of shocked stares and hurried conversations. Word had spread quickly through the ballroom. The photographer wasn't just documenting the wedding, she was the mysterious tech mogul who'd just sold her company to Netflix for $500 million. Maria, radiant in her wedding dress, found me near the dessert table. Izzy, is it true? Did you really just... I smiled, capturing a photo of her genuine surprise. It's true, Prima. Sorry if it overshadowed your special day. She laughed, the sound pure and delighted. Are you kidding? This is the best wedding story ever. My cousin, the secret billionaire. Half-billionaire, I corrected. And it's not a secret anymore. As the evening wound down, I found myself on the hotel's terrace, editing photos on my laptop while the city sparkled below. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was still working, still focused on my craft, just as I had been for years. Isabella. I looked up to find my father approaching, his usual confident stride replaced by something more hesitant. Dad. He sat down beside me, studying the Manhattan skyline. $500 million. It's not about the money, I said, continuing to work on the photos. Though I admit it's nice validation. We never knew, he said quietly. All these years we thought. You thought I was wasting my life, I finished. I know. The question is, would you have believed in what I was building if I'd told you? Or would you have tried to convince me to take a safer path? He was quiet for a long moment. Probably the latter, he admitted finally. That's why I didn't tell you. Success doesn't need permission, Dad. It just needs persistence. My phone buzzed with a text from Margaret. Media requests already coming in. Forbes wants to schedule an interview about The Invisible Mogul for their cover story next month. I showed the message to Dad. His eyes widened as he read. Forbes cover story, he murmured. Probably. The entertainment industry transformation I've been working on is apparently bigger news than I expected. He looked at me with new eyes, seeing perhaps for the first time not his disappointing daughter but a successful entrepreneur who'd quietly revolutionized an entire industry. What happens now? He asked. I saved my photo edits and closed the laptop. Now I get back to work. Netflix wants to integrate my platform with their global infrastructure. There are international expansion plans, new AI development projects, content creation partnerships. And us? Your family? I considered the question carefully. That depends. Are you ready to see me for who I am instead of who you thought I should be? 3 weeks later, I sat in my actual office, not the small Brooklyn space my family thought I worked from, but the top 3 floors of a glass tower in Midtown Manhattan. The walls were covered with monitors showing real-time data from my streaming platform, now fully integrated with Netflix's global network. My assistant knocked on the door. Your mother is here for your lunch appointment. I smiled, remembering the shock on Mom's face when she'd first entered this office. The realization that her struggling daughter owned one of the most valuable tech companies in entertainment had taken some adjustment. Send her in, please. Mom entered, no longer wearing the pitying expression I'd grown accustomed to. Instead, there was genuine curiosity in her eyes, a desire to understand the world I'd built. How was the board meeting? She asked, settling into the chair across from my desk. Productive. We're expanding into virtual reality content next quarter. She nodded, still learning the vocabulary of my industry. And the Forbes article? When does it publish? Next week. They're calling it The Streaming Revolution, How One Woman Changed Entertainment Forever. The transformation in our relationship had been gradual but genuine. Once the family got over their initial shock, some of them had made real efforts to understand my work, to see the value in what I'd built rather than just the money it had generated. Uncle Richard had even apologized, admitting that his construction background had limited his ability to recognize innovation in other industries. David had asked for advice on tech investments for his law firm's clients. Miguel wanted to discuss how AI might impact real estate markets. There's something I want to tell you, Mom said, her voice carrying a note I hadn't heard before. What's that? I've been volunteering at the community center teaching basic computer skills to seniors. After seeing what you accomplished, I realized how much the world had changed while I wasn't paying attention. I leaned back in my chair, touched by this unexpected development. How's it going? Challenging but rewarding. Yesterday I helped a 78-year-old woman video chat with her granddaughter in Japan. The look on her face. He paused, smiling. I think I'm starting to understand why you love technology so much. My phone chimed with a calendar reminder. I have a call with the Netflix executive team in a few minutes, I said, but I'm glad you're here. There's something I want to show you. I turned my monitor around, displaying the latest usage statistics for my platform. Numbers that would have been meaningless to my family a month ago now told a story they were beginning to understand. See this data? Every red dot represents someone watching content recommended by my algorithms. Every green line shows a family connecting over shared entertainment. That's what those little projects were really building, ways for people to find stories that matter to them. Mom studied the screen, the global map lit up with millions of connection points. All those birthday parties you filmed, she said slowly, you were really studying how people react to stories. Exactly. Human behavior in authentic moments. It's the foundation of everything I built. A knock at the door interrupted us. Miss Torres? Netflix is ready for the video conference. I stood, straightening my blazer, designer now, though still understated. Mom, want to stay and see how a $500 million company actually runs? She smiled, the expression free of the worry and disappointment that had defined our relationship for years. I'd love to. As I connected to the call, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The years of being misunderstood, underestimated, dismissed as a failure or a dreamer. The quiet persistence required to build something revolutionary while everyone around you saw only struggle. The Netflix executives appeared on screen, eager to discuss the next phase of our partnership. But before diving into business, I had one more thought for my mother. You know what the best part is? I said quietly. What's that, Mija? I'm still just documenting stories. The scale is bigger now, but the heart of what I do hasn't changed. I'm still the same person with a camera, just with better technology and a clearer vision of what's possible. The call began, and as I discussed global expansion strategies and AI development roadmaps, I caught my mother watching with genuine pride. Not for the money or the recognition, but for the work itself, the innovation, the way I'd found success by being authentically myself rather than who others expected me to be. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't proving others wrong. It's showing them that success comes in forms they never imagined, built by people they never saw coming, using methods they never understood until it was too late to dismiss them. The camera never lies, and neither do the results. 6 months after the wedding that changed everything, I stood on the stage at the Tech Innovation Awards, accepting recognition as the entertainment industry's Entrepreneur of the Year. In the audience, I spotted my family, mom and dad in the front row, Uncle Richard actually applauding, Miguel taking photos with his phone. They'd all come to witness this moment, to see their former disappointment being celebrated by an industry they were still learning to understand. But more importantly, they'd come to support me as the person I'd always been, finally seen clearly for the first time. As I looked out at the audience of tech leaders, investors, and industry pioneers, I thought about that girl with the camera who'd been dismissed as a dreamer. She'd been building this moment one frame at a time, one algorithm at a time, one authentic human interaction at a time. The reception afterward was filled with congratulations, partnership proposals, and interview requests. But the moment that mattered most came when my mother approached, her eyes bright with understanding. I see it now, she said simply. See what, Mom? Why you never gave up. Why you kept filming even when we didn't understand. You weren't just taking pictures, you were building the future. I hugged her, feeling the complete healing of a relationship that had been strained by misunderstanding for so many years. I love you too, Mom. Thanks for finally learning to see it. That night, driving home in my practical car, still the same model, though now by choice rather than necessity, I reflected on the strange journey from family disappointment to industry leader. The streaming platform that had started as mysterious little projects was now processing over 1 billion viewing hours monthly, connecting people with stories that mattered to them. But the technology was just the tool. The real innovation had been in persistence, in continuing to build something meaningful despite being consistently underestimated by the people who should have supported me most. My phone buzzed with a text from Maria. Watching my wedding video on your platform right now. Never thought my cousin would revolutionize how I watch movies. Thank you for making our special day part of tech history. I smiled, pulling into my garage. The wedding video had indeed become part of my algorithm training data, helping the system better understand how families interact during emotional moments. Every genuine laugh, every tear, every spontaneous celebration had contributed to making the platform more human, more intuitive. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success so complete, so authentic, and so obviously earned that it transforms not just your own life, but the lives of everyone who thought they knew your limitations. In my penthouse apartment that night, surrounded by the city lights and the glow of my monitors showing global streaming data, I opened my laptop and began reviewing footage from the Tech Innovation Awards. There were stories to be told, human moments to capture, authentic reactions to analyze. The work never stopped, but now it was recognized for what it had always been: revolutionary. And tomorrow there would be new projects to build, new stories to tell, new ways to connect people with content that mattered to them. The camera would keep rolling, the algorithms would keep learning, and the girl who was once dismissed as a dreamer would keep changing the world, one authentic moment at a time.